lady over there, Lauren, with the glasses.
Yeah.
She's the lady who's got the dance. You've been teaching dance for 20 years. Yeah. Used to be in Narre with a really big one, and she lives out here, so she thought she'd bring another option. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great point, mate.
Meetings, it's all right because you can go and listen. We took it on because we had to. The changes of COVID. I don't know. $600 That's true. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk about how great yes, please.
Carol, Councillor Ryan, get started.
Just for the good watch.
Here? There's something here, I think. Yep, that's working. Attention councillors, welcome to tonight's Town Planning Committee meeting. Due to the easing of COVID-19 restrictions, this meeting of council will have an open gallery for members of the public, but we do have a limit of 10 people. To register, please follow the steps on council's website. For persons wishing to watch from home, a live stream of the meeting will also be available. And thank you for tuning in, and thank you to the members of our small gallery in attendance. Thank you. To begin, I would like to ask Councillor Moore to say the prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. Almighty God, we humbly request that you bestow your blessings upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement of your glory and the betterment of the peoples of Cardinia Shire. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Cardinia Shire Council acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Moving to apologies, I note we have no apologies. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest that you wish to declare at this point? I note that there is no declarations. Cardinia Shire Council operates on a consent agenda. Items withdrawn will be discussed and debated. And those items not withdrawn will be adopted at the end of the meeting without discussion. Moving on to the withdrawn items, we've got item 5.1, which is Unit 6 of number 3, Purton Road, Pakenham, use of land for an indoor recreation facility, dance studio. This item has been withdrawn by Councillor Ross. Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I note that. Moving on to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation that Council issue a notice of decision to planning permit T 200813 for the use of the land for an indoor recreational facility dance studio at 6-3 Purton Road, Pakenham, subject to the conditions attached to the report. Looking into this opportunity to with the permit, we're looking at a business that has got long astute teachers who will start a dance school there, and this dance school they've come out of probably one of the most prestigious dance schools in Narre Warren from the past in Casey. They do amazing work. They've seen thousands of children go through their business over there, and I must say it will be an amazing asset to health and wellbeing of people in our area. Getting to the planning application, I noticed that looking through it, our council officers have recommended this application. I note that there is many conditions within this application which I think are really important, because there are a few objectors who have concerns, but I do feel that they've really gone out of their way, our officers, to make sure that those issues have been looked at and put in. Part of things like the operation for this business will be Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. 2 days we'll have classes between 9:30 a.m. to 12, and on a Saturday it would be 9 till 2 p.m. So for businesses around them who might be concerned that their parking would be filled up by these people, they would know that most of it will be done outside of business hours, except probably the last hour if they're open till 5 o'clock. And for most people who know dance schools and that, once your kids get older than the little tots, most of the parents will leave and drop their kids off and let them do their dance session, and they basically drop the kids off and come and pick them up when they're finished. So in that case, it's not like all of those people. And also I must say too, one of the use of the existing building for the maximum of 12 clients and one staff member at any time, only 12 clients will be permitted in the studio before 5 p.m. I think these are really important things. It does respect the other people with their businesses in the area. In the past, I've seen other people who, with different applications, that with a motor mechanics business who absolutely swore black and blue that having a place of worship within inside their perimeter was going to be the end of the earth. Well, I must say, watching that, their fears weren't contained. These people are extremely respectful. I know that they will work in with those who choose to work around them, and I see it as a real asset to our landscape in Cardinia Shire. I note that we spend tens of millions, in fact probably hundreds of millions of dollars on sporting complexes within Cardinia Shire for certain sports. The creative arts is an area where, other than the cultural centre and that, we don't spend a whole lot of money, and this is a private business that's going to bring the arts to Cardinia Shire. They're asking for us to help them out with with a planning application that would give them access to an affordable place to start their business. So anyway, I would like to think my fellow councillors will support this application, and I look forward to hearing their thoughts. Thank you, Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Moving on to the seconder, Councillor Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I will be supporting this application in reference to T200813 6/3 Purton Road, Pakenham. I too am all for the officer's recommendations. I think they've covered it quite thoroughly. I think people don't realise that this ballroom dancing and any type of dancing is a sport, and it's also recognised internationally. And it's also good for people's health and well-being. And I think that's one of the things that we continually talk about in council is our health and well-being, and especially with our mental health and well-being, and what we can do to join communities. And not everyone plays football, basketball, netball, cricket, soccer. Not everyone is able to do that, but some people are able to physically do ballroom dancing. And one of the things that I've noticed, that looking at some of the young children, that they can go in with a very, very low self-esteem. And when a child has a low self-esteem, they are very hunched over, they're looking down on the ground, their chin is not up, they are very insecure about people looking at them. But when they're learning about dance in particular, this would be ballroom dancing in most of the area, probably some ballet as well, and a mixture here. They learn how to straighten their core up, and their core means that it's the circular of their body where they have to bring their shoulders back, where they have to bring their arms up, and if they're with a partner, they've got to hold their arms up in such a manner that's expected in competition. And so in these competitions, they also get marked on it. So it's great to see when these children and adults even, it's for all ages, it's not just for young children, it's for people in their 70s and 80s even. I've seen people get out there and do some ballroom dancing. But I think it's about having fun, enjoying each other's company on a social basis, but also it could be internationally if you choose to have it internationally and go further. And just the rewards that people get from it is just a reward for people just on the sideline watching. So I will be in favour of this motion going through, and I think I don't need to add any more to that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any other councillors wishing to speak, either for or against? I'll go to Councillor Davies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The council officers have made some very good comments and undertaken a great deal of work. However, should this motion be lost, I would like to foreshadow an alternate motion, a motion that the planning permit is refused, as it is not in accordance with Cardinia's planning scheme. Specifically, clauses 33.3-2, not consistent with industrial use. Clause 52.06, insufficient parking spaces for clients. Clause 65.01, having a negative effect on industrial amenity. And clause 1703, Part 1 and Part 2, reducing the suitability for future industrial use and protecting our industrial zones. So 6 months into being a councillor, I'm finding there's almost always shades of grey in planning matters, as there is with this one. I have received inquiries from neighbouring businesses, and the site is within Tumark Ward, of which I'm the elected councillor, and I do want to raise their concerns for consideration by council. Sorry, bear with me. So the major concern that's been raised is with access, with car parking and pedestrian movements, and with the associated safety impacts. And Council's planning staff have confirmed that there is conflict also with industrial zoning and future use and visibility as well, and viability of industrial precinct as well. Personally, dancing is an activity I love and I want to support. Any activity that keeps people connected to others and moving and being healthy, it's absolutely something I want to encourage. I myself am a former ballet student and an assistant dance teacher. And many years ago, I actually met my partner at ballroom dancing, and 3 children later, I'm very grateful to dancing, and I really do want to wish this business all the very best in their attempts to find a suitable site. But to summarise, Council, I do suggest an alternate motion for consideration on the basis of the intended use for the land and the access and concerns by neighbouring businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I do note that you're foreshadowing a alternate motion if Councillor Ross's motion lapses or fails. I do note your foreshadowed motion of refusal. Moving on to other councillors. Thank you, Councillor Moore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. I'd just like to say that I will support this. I will support the officer's recommendation on many fronts. Addressing the car parking issue, it was actually advertised to look at the car parking of this area because the car parking is very limited in these units. If you have a look at these units, there's very limited amount of car parking, and I respect and understand Councillor Davies and the 5 objectors who their major thing is the car parking in that area, but it's actually they do not have to require a waiver for the car parking of this planning application. So to me, that addresses it on its own, that there's not going to have the parking issues there, even though the objectors, I respect them, that they foresee a bit of a problem there could be, because it is a busy area, I must say. But the term that's used is keep a negative effect on the amenities and the industrial region of this area. The amount of non-industrial businesses that are within this estate is a lot. Even in the actual block themselves, there's a dog wash person, there's a martial arts group, there's a yoga studio, and formerly there was a dance studio there, and a solicitor was in the same building. They're all non-industrial. It just begs to differ of how much that would have an effect, particularly even the Salvation Army is around the corner. So you'd have to start thinking about, is this protecting industrial area or isn't it? And I would say it's incidental. It wouldn't. It's not going to have any effect because there are that many industries in that area that are what you would call non-industrial. I mean, manufacturing mainly, if you'd say. But I can see myself that there would be mainly the tutor only. There would be car park for the tutor only. This is in the application anyway, it's for 4-year-olds up to 18-year-olds. And that there wouldn't be many people driving to this particular studio, I wouldn't imagine. That would be a drop-off, pick-up session. I could see that. And that could cause a bit of a problem there because on the opposite side of the road there's a no standing zone area, which of course makes it very difficult. But I still think it will be a drop-off, drop-on. So I can't see a problem. And as Councillor Ross alluded to, and so rightly said, about the opening times, the starting times, 4 o'clock is a fair session till 9:30 at night. Mainly really starting at 5 o'clock, really. That's when it will begin. So I can't really honestly see any holes to knock in this recommendation from our planners. I think they've done a pretty good job to have this, and I know, as Councillor Ryan has mentioned, we should be supporting our local youth, giving them something else to do other than sport. And I know we have some fantastic performing arts groups that are in Cardinia Shire. The CPAC group is fantastic. The musicals, which I've been a part of many years in my former life. And of course, we have a thing called the Cardinia Youth Theatre, which is something that's fantastic. A lot of people don't know about that. It's for younger people, very young. And this could form straight into that, it'd be a feeder sort of studio into our local groups here. So I think I can see a lot of positives for this recommendation, and I fully support it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any other councillors wishing to speak to this item? Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Owen, and I'll be very brief. I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for the discussion of this item, particularly Councillor Davies for the valid points that were raised in opposition, and also to Councillor Ross for withdrawing this motion. I also note, Councillor Moore, that the previous occupants of the site have been a barrister and a dance studio. So I think that's very important to point out. Fundamentally, this is a business, and supporting small business is a key priority of this council, which is why I'll be supporting the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Any other speakers, councillors? There being none, I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Ross, to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, fellow councillors, for sharing your perspective on this issue and application. I must say, I find it really interesting that in the area, as it's been noted, that the character of the area isn't such of a, even though it's technically an industrial area, it actually forms a rather interesting area. And from what I can see, and after talking to people starting off businesses, you need somewhere to start off with that you can afford to be in to kick off, because when you start off you don't have a whole lot of people, so you're really putting yourself out there. And like this dance group will be starting off, they shared with me just a minute ago before we started that even without the application they had to, well, they started off with an interim sort of a basis, and then with the application going in, they even had the keys taken off them, so they had to shut down until they would get an application through. So therefore there's many people out there who would probably be a bit disappointed their kids start off and then they're sort of stopped. I'd like to think that small businesses, where we as a council only look at the application that they put in and they dedicate their time, their effort and their money to build something, that they could actually, we could actually assist them in that area. I must say, my son's a tap dancer, and I know that the dance school that the proprietor comes from has actually had people finish up in musical theatre, the VCE dance and all that sort of stuff. So there's actually a long-term thing, and I know this dance school as well offers for adults who can't find anywhere to go and dance anymore, that you can actually do an adult dance class there for those who still want to keep dancing, because there's just not many of them around that offer that sort of thing. Numbers depending on whether it's a group or a private session sort of thing. So I just think it just adds to the options for parents locally. I know that they've got a proven track record on behaving really, really well where they've come from, and I know these people will do us proud if we give them the opportunity. I leave that to my fellow councillors and hope we'll get some positive towards the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I put this item 5.1 to a vote. All those in favour, please indicate by a show of hands. Thank you. Those against? Thank you.
Can
That's
I call
carried.
a division, please? Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Ross has called a division. Those councillors in favour, please stand. Thank you. I call Councillor Kowaczyk, Councillor Moore, Councillor Radford, Councillor Springfield, Councillor Ross, Councillor Carol Ryan and Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you. I also acknowledge those councillors who voted against the motion. Please indicate. Okay, we note you're abstaining, Councillor Davies, so we record that. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to the next item, which is item 5.3. 67 to 69 Main Street, Pakenham. Buildings and works associated with an existing shopping centre. This item has been withdrawn by Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. I move to endorse the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I've got a seconder from Councillor Ryan. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Moving on to the mover, Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Owen, and thank you, Councillor Ryan, for your second. That's very much appreciated. Approval is sought for item T10009 for buildings and works associated with the refurbishment of Pakenham Place Shopping Centre at 67 to 69 Main Street, Pakenham. The works will include, among other things, internal and external modifications to two buildings identified as B and C on the plans that comprise an existing supermarket, retail premises and shops, as well as a detailed landscaping plan. This area is crying out for development, refurbishment and investment, and the approval of this planning application encourages that. Obviously, with the pending level crossing removal projects in the surrounding area and the elevated rail going through, including the community spaces beneath, which we very much look forward to, and the upcoming provisional upgrade of Pakenham Main Street, this investment will help to continue to improve the amenity of the greater Pakenham area. Coming out of COVID, I really welcome this investment into what is one of the major shopping hubs in the biggest town in Cardinia. I'm looking forward to the increase in jobs, the better amenities, better access to resources for our local Pakenham community. Now, this permit is subject to a number of conditions. Of particular note to myself and the greater community is the quality of finishes on the buildings and the landscaping plan, which is so vital to improve what is currently a sea of tarmac. I call on the applicant and council officers to ensure this is done to a really high level and standard. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Moving on to the seconder, Councillor Ryan. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. I'm in support of this recommendation in the planning permit for, need to put my glasses back on. T21009. I think Councillor Kowaczyk has pointed out quite a few things. I'm really proud to say it's in my ward. This is a long time coming, and I know that the shopping centre there has been very old and very dilapidated in some ways, and it does need badly a facelift. And with the specifications and the design that I've looked at, I think the community will be very pleased when if it goes ahead. I think the modernisation, but still keeping the character of Cardinia Shire as well as Pakenham within our community, and it has ample parking. So this is really just upgrading the outside and the inside of the building. So we've already got shops there, but there will be different shops in the long run. But again, it's within Pakenham Activity Centre, which includes the main street and in and around Pakenham itself. And I think that when all of these things happen, and I know that the community has been very, very patient, the same as councillors have been very patient but it does take a while to get this done. There's a lot of other projects that are happening at the same time, so the community is going to see an awful lot happen. But I think I'm happy with the specifications and the design, and I think that the growth of more plants in and around the building itself, I think seeing greenery, again, it's good for mental health and well-being. It'll encourage more businesses to come to our community, and we are lacking a lot of businesses within our Pakenham area. So I believe that, for the sake of the community wanting to stay and shop locally, and that's what this is all about, is encouraging people to shop locally and enjoying shopping locally and enjoying new businesses coming in and utilising that. I think we'll see a lot much more happier Pakenham residents and out of Pakenham residents within Cardinia Shire coming in and enjoying what we'll have to offer in the future. So I'm just again so proud that this is finally starting to happen, and I hope I'm still in by the time it's finished. So thank you. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any other speakers, councillors, either for or against? I note Councillor Davies to speak. Thank you, Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I also support the council officer's recommendations and the granting of the permit. I support the revitalisation of Pakenham Town Centre and do look forward to the investment. Our growth in Cardinia needs to be supported with additional facilities, and this will be a fantastic development, a source of local employment and activation of our retail centre. Another benefit is that the town centre is well serviced by public transport and walkable, so these retail businesses will be accessible for those of us without cars. Thank you to Councillor Kowaczyk for withdrawing the item, and to the council officers and the planning applicants for their work on this development. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other speakers, councillors? Thank you, Councillor Ross. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ross. No, all good.
I wasn't sure whether someone else. You looked over there, and I wasn't sure someone else had their hand. Thank you, Mayor. Look, this site is so overdue for redevelopment. I can remember in 20 years on council. 12 years on council, but over 20 years living in Pakenham, that this area around the car parking area was where the first Woolies/Safeway was in supermarket in Pakenham. Then they built the Coles across the road, which was then got bought out by Lend-Lease, the whole building there, and they had some exciting developments early on where they said they were going to expand it and make it bigger and the whole lot of it. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, that didn't develop. I was going to say metastasised or whatever it's... Anyway, this area has got so much opportunity for businesses, because if you've got a small business, and I must say I'm a small business owner. I grew up in a family of my father had a small business all of my life, and I worked for 22 years in small businesses and in shops. And I know that anything that draws more people to an area will benefit those businesses around there, because you just got to get people coming and coming and coming. And if you've got a good business and you sell something at a reasonable price with really good customer service, you will draw customers in there. And I just think that the activity brought to this area by revamping it will benefit so many locals, because locals in this area, because it's part of sort of the old part of Pakenham, a whole lot of people can walk there locally. And they walk to the shops now, but unfortunately they're walking to shops where probably in that area half of them are now shut down. So therefore they're walking past vacant shops. If we could have really thriving businesses in those areas, they'll stop at those shops and they'll consider whether or not they purchase something there. So I just think it's a really good thing. I think it can only but benefit the town centre, and I think a lot of locals will take the opportunity to welcome the site and probably go and buy something there. And I think those other business owners locally will actually see it as a really, really good thing, bringing activity. So I support this, and I hope my fellow councillors will support this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other speakers? I note Councillor Moore. Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm really excited about this. Just to have something new happening in that Pakenham Centre, that activity centre, and to have I know we're going to lose an anchor that's for that area, but we're going to gain another one, and I think maybe just as well. I know the criticism for this would be we've got enough supermarkets, but we've that anchor used to be the old Safeway, and that was one of the major shopping areas once upon a time. But it has always been to me. I've been around Pakenham area for a long time, and it's always been a dead end of the Pakenham activity area. It was always all the shops along in there. They come and they go. They come and they go. And this may have a chance to revital that and bring back some energy into this. Into our Pakenham area, and with all the landscaping, as Councillor Kowalczyk was talking about, I want to thank him for drawing this item, because this is something we've got to celebrate this, because we don't have new things happening. I think the last new thing I can remember would have been Marketplace. So I think to have this, to revital it, I'm all for it, and I will definitely be supporting this, Councillor Kowalczyk, for you, but and my fellow councillors. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any other speakers? There being none, I will go back to Councillor Kowalczyk to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for their comments and what I hope will be their support. Thank you, Councillor Ryan, particularly. Councillor Moore, also you are very much on the money when you talk about revitalisation and the excitement that can bring to a town centre. Councillor Davies also for her comments around public transport and access, which is crucial in ensuring that this area remains well supported. As was said, it encourages people to shop local and to stay within our beautiful hometown. If this project is done to the appropriate levels of quality, as set out in the application, it's going to create a really nice space in the heart of Pakenham. Our community can look forward to the increase in jobs, better amenity, and better access to more diverse shops and resources for our local Pakenham community. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Councillors, I put the item to a vote. All those in favour, please indicate. Thank you. Those against, carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, that concludes discussion on the withdrawn items. Councillors, can I have a motion, please, to adopt the remaining items on the agenda as per the officer's recommendations? So that's moved by Councillor Ryan, seconded by Councillor Moore. Councillors, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favour, please indicate. Thank you. Those against, that's carried. Thank you, councillors, for your attendance. Thank you, gallery, and those tuning in online. I now declare the meeting closed. Thanks very much. Thank you.